Hello everyone. Today I am going to talk about one of the important part of international marketing, that is market expansion plan. And in this plan, I just want to give you a background that how we are going to do this. So first of all, when we are talking about international business, we have to think that what exactly international business is or what is international marketing. So, if we talk about international business refers to the trade of goods and services, technology, capital, or knowledge across the national border and at a global level. That means that they are saying if we talk about the international business, it is related with the trading of goods and services from one country to another country and transfer of technologies, capital, or knowledge beyond the national borders. This is known as international business. Then there are different type of environments in international business which are affecting the international business, or you can say the international marketing. What are these various environments? Number one is political factor. Both big and small political forces influences that may affect the performance of or the option open to the organization. That means the political factors always influence the performance of the organization, whether it is the domestic one or whether it is the international one. Then second is the economic influences. What are these economic influences? So they are saying the nature of the competition faced by the organization or its services and financial resources available within the economy. That means that they are saying that what if we talk about the economic influences, it means that it is the nature of the competition faced by the organization or its services whenever we are going for international business, and it will affect the financial resources also within the economy. That means that when we are going for the international business, it may directly influence the economic condition of the country as well as the organization also. Then third point regarding the environment is concerned is sociological trends. That means demographic changes, trends in the way people live, work, and think. This is important point why we are going for the international business, because we want to expand our business and we want to get the more benefits while expanding the business. But when we are talking about the demographical changes, it means the we have to see the trends which are prevailing in that particular country where we are supposed to do the international business. This says that we have to understand that how the people live in that particular area, how they work, and how they think about it. Because if we see the condition of various countries, every country is having their own sociological trends. People are thinking in different manner, people are doing the work in a different manner, and they are living in different way. So we have to understand this thing first before going for any international business, that what are the various environment which may affect your business when you are going for any export or import business. Then next is the technological innovations. What are that? The new approaches to doing new and old things and tackling new and old problems. When we are talking about the technological innovations, that means as we know that the things are becoming more and more advanced nowadays, and this reflects the international business also. That means that we have to understand that what are the new approaches which we may adopt for doing the new and old things, and how we are going to tackle these new and old things in better manner. Because whenever we are doing a business, it doesn't mean that everything becomes smooth. We have to understand that what services and what business we are doing in international market. So according to that, we have to see that what are the technological advances which usually takes place in this in this business. So according to that, we have to understand that what are the basic problems which may occur and how we are going to tackle those problems regarding the technological innovations and advancements are concerned. And these basically do not necessarily involve technical equipments. They can be novel way of thinking or of organizing. That means they are saying that it is not necessary that if we're talking about the technological innovation, this clearly indicates that it is related with technical equipments. No, it is not like that. It is the novel way how you think and how you are going to organize the things in such a manner that your work become more smooth and you are in a position to do the work in better condition. So this is these are basically various environments which we have to take into consideration when we are going for any international business. Number one is, I am repeating this thing again, that number one is political factor, which is the most important part. And in apart from the political factors, we have to see the economical influences. That means the competition faced by the organization, services, and financial resources. Then sociological trends, that means demographic changes, the way people live, think, and work. Then technological advances or the innovations. In this, we can use the new approaches to tackle the new and old things, and we have to tackle the new and old problems also when we are using the new approaches. And it doesn't means that the technical equipments are involved into this. It is the way how we are thinking in a proper manner, or we are thinking in a different manner and organizing the thing effectively. Then we are talking about the competitive advantage. What is that? Competitive advantage means competitive environment. The competitive environment also changes from country to country. That means this is partly because of the economical, political, and cultural environments. That means whenever we are going for any international business, there is going to be competitive environment which is related with economical, political, and cultural environment. And these environments factors help determining the type and degree of competition that exists in that particular country. So they are saying that the environmental factor related with the politics, related with the economic and cultural differences, these are the environment which helps to determine the type of difficulties we are going to face if we are going for any international business. That means we are going to export any product in any new company. It can be a public or a private sector, come from the large or the small organization, be domestic or global. So they are saying that these uh, competition can come from the variety of sources. What do you mean by variety of sources? Variety of sources mean uh, maybe it is from the public or private sectors, maybe it is from global or domestic sector, or maybe it is from the large or small organization. So basically, what exactly this competitive advantage says that the environment which is playing a very important role in the business, whether it is a domestic or whether it is a global environment. For domestic company, most likely sources of competition might be well understood. The same isn't the case when a person moves to compete in the new environment. They are saying that it is most probably understood that what are the things which we are going to face in the domestic market. So it is very important to understand the domestic market also, that when we are manufacturing the product for any foreign client, we have to see that which type of competition we are going to face in that. So it is important, and they are saying that this is not the case when a person is moving in some new environment. They are saying that it is not necessary that you are going to face these type of competition in new environment, but it may comes when you are going for the business, because as it is very very clearly said that before you are going for any international marketing, you have to understand the various environmental factors, which includes the cultural factor of that particular country where you are supposed to enter, because you have to see the cultural advancement of that particular country. Then you have to see the economic condition of that country. It should not like that you enter into the market and you find out that the economic condition of the country is not very good. In that situation you are going to face a very very big problem. And regarding the political uncertainty, there are some countries where the political uncertainties are there, but still people think that okay, because the market is not too competitive, let's go and explore those market. But you have to understand this thing: when you are entering into this market and political uncertainty is there, it may create a lot of problem. Because of the political uncertainty, maybe the things become standstill anytime. And when the things become standstill, you will be in a position to understand that what is going to happen to your business. Maybe you have to shut down your business, maybe you have to come back. So these are the things which you have to take into consideration when we are talking about the competitive environment. That means, please remember one thing, that when we are talking about the competitive environment, remember only three things: political, economic, and cultural environment. On the basis of this, you have to decide that what you are going to do globally. Then, next is the regulatory environment, private trade law. In this, the example is given that there are types of international sales contracts, mechanisms for payment and security, the insurance of goods in transit. Yes, of course, this happens. That in the international business, we are having different type of sales contracts. I'll give you one example. The sales contract is like this: that okay, we are sending the goods to you. After receiving the goods, we will give you your money back. Then second sales contract is that we are forwarding the documents through the banks, and the moment you receive the goods, you will get the information, you have to pay the money to the banks, and then you can release the payment from documents from there, and you can release the goods in your country. And apart from that, there are other contracts also. It is 6 monthly contracts also, 1 year contract also, 4 year contracts also. Then what are the mechanism of payment? Whether it is a direct payment, whether it is through banks, whether it is through third party, or whether it is through some other sources. And what are the securities? Do you have any securities when you are going for international business? Then when the goods are moving from one country to another country, what are the different laws which are prevailing in your country and in the foreign country where you are sending the goods? Because on the basis of that, the insurance of the goods takes place. That means when the goods are in transit from one country to another countries, you have to go for the insurance of the goods. And without insurance, you cannot move your good from domestic country to foreign country. The contracts for the international carriage of goods by sea and dispute resolution. Yes, there must be a there is a contract which says if goods are moving by sea. So you have to see that which type of contract you are going to make, and what are the dispute resolution in case if something goes wrong, who where we are going to solve the disputes. So this is one thing which you have to take into consideration, which comes under regulatory environment. so that you are in a position to understand that what exactly you are going to do when you are transporting the goods from one country to another country. Then second is international trade and investment law. This says the national and international rules that facilitates economic integration between the countries, including the World Trade Organizational and regional and bilateral trade and investment agreement. As the people who are going for export or import business, they should be very well versed with the international trade and investment laws, because there are a lot of agreements. For example, it is World Trade Organization agreement, regional and bilateral trade agreements, and investment agreement. So you have to be very clear about those agreements, because it facilitates the economic integration between the countries. Suppose you are sending the good from your domestic country to say any foreign country, and you are able to understand the regulatory environment, which says that there are different type of international uh, laws, investment laws in other countries. So on the basis of that, you have to be very careful about it. I can give you one example. If you want to go to South Africa, there is one regulation which says that okay, you come to our country, we will provide you space and all the necessary arrangement, and you can start your business after investing in our country. This is one example. Then there are some other countries also who say that okay, you can come to our country, we will provide you everything right from the uh, space to other things which are required for establishing a business, and on the basis of that you can start the business, and we are charging a very little amount for that. So these are the things which you have to take into consideration when you are going for any international market and understanding the situation effectively. Then there is international competition law. What is that? It is the analysis of the legal and policy issues associated with the control of restrictive business practices. So they are saying that there are international competition law which says that the legal and policy issue should be analyzed very closely, which is associated with the control of restrictive business practices. That means there are a lot of restriction on some particular businesses. So you have to analyze those things effectively, so that you should be in a position to see that how you are going to market the product. And it is related with the anti-competitive mergers in international market. In international market, sometimes what happens, the exporter enter into the market and then they find out that okay, if there is no competition, let's do one thing, we will merge with some local company and we can do the business. No, you have to understand the law, that is the international competition law. You cannot merge with any company, so you should be very careful about this thing. Then international finance law and securities regulation, this is another law which prevails in international business. This is the global governance of securities and financial markets and the consequences for the strategies open in different legislations. That means they are saying that you have to be careful about the global governance of securities and financial markets. That means that you are well versed with the global securities and financial markets, that how the market is moving, how the securities can be taken so that your business will run smoothly, and on the basis of that you have to make the different strategies which should not be in the negative side. Because if you are not dealing with these financial markets and the securities of global avenues, what will happen, the consequences is going to be directly affecting your strategies which you are making for your product to be marketed in that particular area. So as I have told you that there are different regulatory environment, normal competitive environments which you have to take into consideration. In the regulatory environment, this is very tricky in uh, laws. So you have to see the regulatory environment in domestic country, and after understanding all the laws you have to see the same laws in the foreign country. Why? Because you have to correlate between both the laws, and then you have to analyze whether these laws are good for you or whether these laws are going to create problem for your organization when you are marketing the product in international market. So it is very very important to understand this thing. Then we are going to talk about another point, which is the market entry expansion. As I have told you about the various laws related with the competitive environment, related with the general environment, and related with the international investment and laws environment, regulatory environment. So you have to be very, very careful about all those things when you are entering into the market. Now, the second point comes is what is market entry expansion. It is saying that when the commercial transactions are the ultimate goal of international trade, and indeed trade of any kind. That means that they are saying when your ultimate aim is to trade the business in foreign countries and it results in the commercial transactions. Commercial transaction means that whatever you are selling, in return you are getting something, either in the form of money or in the form of goods. That means it is a exchange program. So they are saying the pattern of international market development often follows different type of stages. So please try to understand when we are talking about the market entry expansion, this is only related with the ultimate goal of international trade is to do the transaction commercially. That's all. Now the stages which we are going to talk about is number one is the domestic market establishment. The domestic market is often an appropriate place to test products and fine tune performance before tackling the complexities of international trade. So, here it is said that it is always advisable and appropriate to test your products in your own country and find out that what are the things which may be your USP in selling the product in international market, and what are the things which you need to be improved. That means that you have to fine tune your performance of particular product which you are planning to launch into international market, so that it will be easier for you to tackle the complexities of the international trade. Because it is usually said that if the domestic market is doing very well and you are in a position to expand the business as per the market expansion programs are concerned, you should be very very careful that are your product in such a situation that they can easily compete the international products. So that you have to find out that how you are going to fine tune your performance of particular product so that you can enter into the international market. It can also give a good indication of performance, of course, when you are fine tuning the product, and it will give an indication of performance. I will give you an example. Suppose we are selling some talcum powder in domestic market, and these talcum powders are doing very well in domestic market and it is very well accepted by the consumers. So you have to do the analysis and market research in foreign country where you are planning to sell this particular product, that whether the mm, consumers of that particular country are in a position to accept that product or not. So in that case, you have to do the market research, and on the market research basis, you have to analyze the product, and then you have to put the product in international market. So it will be easier for you to penetrate that international market easily. However, in some cases, this stage of export process doesn't serve any purpose at all. That means that sometime it happens that whatever you are doing it, whatever the performance are going to be fine tuned at domestic market, and you are exporting the product after doing the market research and everything, but it will not serve the purpose. Why? What is the reason? Because maybe the environment is not in favor of you. Maybe the consumers are not going to like the product, but after the market research you find out that they are interested in this type of product, but the moment the product launches into the market, you find out that they are not interested in using those products. Maybe there are some other reasons also, as I have told you, that maybe it is political reason, maybe it is cultural reason, maybe it is some any any other reason related with the consumer. So here I'm going to give you one more example, that there is a software company from Canada. What they have done, they have decided to sell their software in US markets. So what they have done, they have made the product only for US market, not for any other market. So in that situation, they make their product established in that particular market. So same the domestic market people can also do this thing, that the manufacturer in the domestic area or the country, what they will do, they have to market research the particular market, and then they have to find out that okay, this is the gap, and to fill up the gap we are only going to manufacture the product which the consumer likes there. Because as you know that nowadays consumers are the deciding factor for any particular product. So it is not necessary the product which is doing well in your country are going to do well in other countries also, provided you have done lot of market research and lot of analysis for that. So this is the case which sometime it happens. Then the second stage is the export research and planning. When companies begin trading abroad, they often target a country similar to their own language, financial structure, legal and economic systems. Yes, it is usually saying that when the companies are planning to expand their market, it is seen that the companies are looking for the countries who are very close to their own language, their financial structure, legal system, and economical system or culture. That means if you are going to do any business in Nepal from India, you are very sure about it that the language is uh, from Nepal and India are almost same. People can easily understand the language also. Then the financial condition, economic situation, then the legal systems are almost same with the Indian counterpart. In that situation, it will be easier for the company, that means the domestic company, to enter into the foreign market, because the things which are prevailing in that foreign market are almost same. Then they are saying before venturing into an unfamiliar market, companies should prepare themselves properly by analyzing how successful the proposed product or service may be in a potential market. The exporter can narrow the target market down to 3 or 4. As I am talking to you, that before venturing into new market, You have to prepare yourself in such a manner that you have to analyze the thing, how successful your product is going to be, and the product which you are proposing to launch into the market may be good for the potential market. And in this situation you can narrow down the target markets, maybe two or maybe three, and on the basis of all the analysis you have to identify in this which particular market you would like to enter. Then initial export sales. During this stage, the exporter should use initial shipment to become familiar with the mechanism of export. That means it is usually advisable when you are going for export business, the exporter should use some initial shipment. That means a very minimum amount of product you have to send to the foreign market. Why? Because you are in a position to understand documentation, distribution channel, transportation, and collection procedures. Because if you are going to do the export in a large quantity in initial stages, maybe it will backfire because you are not aware about the documentation procedure, you are not aware about the transportation thing, collection of the money, and the distribution channel. So it is always advisable at the initial export sales you should be in a position to ship the goods in very small quantity, so that you are going to become familiar with all the distribution, documentations, transportation, and collection procedures. To get to know the customer target group, to determine what products modification may be necessary, and to learn about regulations that might affect the business. Yes, as I am talking to you, that initially you have to send a very small amount of products in foreign market. Why? Because you have to find out the customer target group. Okay, these are my target groups, and on basis of these target group, I am going to sell the product. Then second is to determine the product modifications. In case if those products need some modification, you can do the modification, and you have to learn about the regulations that might affect the business in foreign market. So this is the stage where you can revise the initial plan also. Maybe you can change your strategies also, so that the next shipment which you are supposed to send in due course of time are going to be perfect. Then expansion of international sales. If initial sales have been good, planning for larger orders and expanded activity should follow. The stage is usually accompanied by intensified market research, aggressive participation in international trade, and other marketing activities. As I have said this thing, that if initial goods or the sales are good, you may go for some big expanded activities. And this is going to be accompanied by intensified market research. As I have told you that your market research should be very good, and aggressive participation in trade shows. That means in international trade shows you are going to showcase your product, and this will help you out. And we have to give greater emphasis on strengthening network and contacts in the target market. That means when we are identifying the target market, we have to see that how much strength we can give to our networking and the contacts in the target market. So this is very important. Then investment abroad. If sales are brisk, profits encouraging, and opportunities are promising, the organization may choose to expand its presence in the target market. That means they are saying if your sales are good, encouraging, and you are finding out the opportunities are very promising in that particular country, so you can target the market effectively and expand your business in that particular market. That means you can open a local office, tighten the relations with local partners, buy an existing local company and form a joint venture or invest in research and development or production facilities. So these are the few things which you may think if your export business starts doing well and you find out that it is a promising business and opportunities are there to expand your business, you can do that. And maybe you can go for the local partners, you can go for the joint ventures, you can invest in research and development in that country, or maybe you can invest in the production facility. So these are the things which you have to take into consideration when we talk about market expansion plan. Then we are going to talk about is global strategies partnership. What is that? In a global strategic partnership, two or more companies from different countries work as a team. That means there are two or more companies working together in different countries. They pool the resources together and they pool the skills provided together to get the better product and services. Because when these two three companies are coming together from different countries and working together, you can very well understand that the audience are going to be broader with the help of the collaboration, because each and every company is having their own customers. So when you are pooling the things, you can automatically understand the customers become more. The companies engage in global strategic partnerships because they believe the partnership will lead to synergy, which means increased economic benefits. Yes, of course, when two or three companies from different countries are coming together, collaborating together, and working for the same goal, that means getting the maximum profitability with the help of their own resources as well as skills, you will find out that the companies are going to be doing much more better, and the number of customers also increases in this situation. Then reaching a broader audience. With the help of the collaboration, the company may reach a wider audience, as I have told you, and they could be working alone. Each company relies on others' reputation in its primary area of operation. Customer may not even realize the company in their home country has teamed up with outside company, because they only concern about the product which they are using it, or better services. Alternatively, if the company have a strong reputation around the world, creating a high profile partnership may signal that their offerings have dramatically improved. They are saying that when collaborations are there, so both the companies are having a wider audience and they work alone. Each company relies on others' reputation, and in this situation, the customers are not able to understand that two companies combined together and they are selling the product, because customers are only concerned about their own product which they are using it, and they are satisfied with the products and services. And suppose if one company is having a very strong reputation, creating a high profile relationship, it may signal that their offerings have dramatically increased. That whatever they are providing to the consumer and whatever they are getting in return is going to be increased like anything. Then creating a separate entity. In global strategic partnership, two or more parties might create a separate legal entity that they co-own. That means that both the companies who are working together in a collaborative effect, they may create a separate legal entity as they are co-owner of the company. This is called as equity joint venture. Each party might own the same percentage of the company, or they might divide the ownership so that one partner owns the majority of the company. So separate entity means that company work in collaboration, but they are having a separate entity and they are the co-owners. So in this situation, it is known as equity joint ventures, where maybe they are getting 50-50%, or maybe it happens that one company uh, divide the ownership in such a manner that they own the majority of the company and they work as a separate legal entity. I'll give you an example. There are two parties owing 50% each. If there are four parties owing 25% each, alternatively, it may be possible that one party owes 60% and another party owes 40%. These percentages reflect how much each party have invested in the company. Yes, it total depends about the investment. If people are investing 50-50, they are getting 50-50. If they are investing 60-40, they are going for 60-40. The percentage determine how much say each party has in the company. Of course, if you are having 60% partnership, definitely your say is much more than the other. And you can make the company's decision. So this is the basic idea how you are going for the market expansion. Then we are going to talk about joint venture, which is known as cooperative joint venture. There's, it is said that it's better to create a separate legal entity. The companies could simply partner for a designated period of time. Yes, they are saying that it is not necessary that you go for the separate legal entity, but maybe you can become a simple partner for a time period. This is called as cooperative joint venture. Through this partnership, they can take advantage of marketing conditions that increase demand for the service they can offer together. So, in this situation, they are saying that if you are working on the cooperative joint venture, you can take advantage of marketing conditions that increase the demand for a service which both of the parties are offering together. The company also pursue research and explore together through this type of agreement. They are saying that when the companies are in cooperative joint ventures, they can explore more and they can do research work also, that how they can earn more and more. The parties draw up a contract outline each party's responsibilities and how much of the profit each party receives. Yes, when the parties are working together for the common goal, they have to draw some policies and responsibilities, and they have to decide this thing that each party, how much each party is receiving. The limited time frame of this partnership makes sense because of a dynamic and unpredictable international marketing condition. It is said that it is always advisable to work in cooperative joint venture for maybe 1 year or maybe 2 years, and after that again renew the contract, because you are not sure about the uh, unpredictable international marketing conditions, because the strategies demand very quick changes, and one company might wish to partner with another company before long to adapt to the changing market, because it is usually said that if you are going a contract for 1 year, automatically you can find out that what are the situations which are prevailing in the market, and on the basis of that may require some other partner to work with you. So it will always be advisable that whatever the contract you are making, maybe it is for 1 year or 2 year or 3 year, not more than that, because of the prevailing situation in international marketing, which is very, very difficult or unpredictable. Then investment in a global strategic partnership. Here, it is usually said that the company in the partnership might invest funds as well as labor, knowledge, facilities, equipments, and land. That means if two companies are working together, they can invest in funds. Apart from that, they can invest in labor, knowledge, facilities, equipments, and land. And the alternate of this is one one party might grant the use of their land for the partnership activities, because these resources are not coming on a price tag. The company must agree on the value of the resources to determine how much each party has invested. In this global strategic partnership, suppose you have a land and you agree to give land to the other party to work on that. So in that situation, both the parties should decide this thing, how much percentage of profit each party is going to get. So this is one thing, that maybe you can become a global strategic partnership if you are having lot of things like labor, facilities, knowledge, equipments, lands, etc. You can go for these type of partnership. Then we are going to over review the international partnership. The strategic partnership with organization and institutions overseas are the agenda of lot of countries. This is an international agenda of lot of countries, and an international partnership development fund has been established to encourage and support collaboration across a range of areas. In international partnership, it is said that there are a lot of universities in their agenda. It is there that they want to make the global strategic partnership with any other university in foreign country. And there is a uh, development fund which is known as International Partnership Development Fund. It has established to encourage and support collaboration across a range of areas. So, if we talk about the market expansion plan, we have discussed about the expansion plan, that what are the things which we have to take into consideration. Then we have talked about the environments, whether it is the competitive environment, whether it is a legal environment, that means the regulatory bodies. Then we have talked about the joint ventures, that is cooperative joint ventures. Then we have talked about the international partnership uh, review. Then joint ventures, how we are going to do the joint ventures and how we are going to make an effective partnership in international business. So on the basis of this, I have just given you some questions, that is MCQ, which are having four alternatives, and I'm quite sure that you are in a position to give the answer for these questions, because you have to just think over it and then you are in a position to give the answer of these questions. That what is the percentage of FDI followed in the defense production in India? Maybe you are not in a position to give the answer, but you have to think over it and then you have to attempt this. Then they are saying the first Indian joint venture abroad was in Pakistan, Taiwan, Nigeria, or Sri Lanka. Then which of the following is not a strategic alliance? Joint marketing campaign, cooperative product development, joint venture, or merger? What is the most frequent internal motive for a strategic alliance? Resource needed, risk limitation, cost minimization, current poor performance. Then, what is joint venture? It is a personal account, nominal account, real account, or memorandum account. The partners to joint ventures are called what? Bailor and Bailey partners, converter, principal, and agent. Then there is one question which says which of these is not a feature of joint venture? Continuing business, no firm name, partners called co-venture, partnership for limited purpose. Then profit or loss of joint venture business is shared by the co-ventures equally in the ratio of capital contribution in the agreed upon the ratio as per their age. Then they are saying that the stock leftover is taken by a co-venture is debited to joint venture account, credited to joint venture, or credited to joint bank account. So these are few questions which I have just given to you, And I'm quite sure that after going through this market expansion program and the joint ventures, you are in a position to give the answer for this. And I hope that the basic ideas about the market expansion plan is clear to you. And thank you very much for joining me.